The thing about electricity is that it always finds the shortest path to ground. I learned that 24 years ago in trade school, and I've been living by it ever since. What they don't teach you is that betrayal works the same way. It takes the path of least resistance, usually through the people closest to you. My name is Jack Parish, and I've been rewiring this god-forsaken river town for 2 decades. Tonight, I'm crouched in my own kitchen at 11:30, installing new outlets behind the refrigerator, when I hear my wife Lila and our 16-year-old daughter Maggie going at it upstairs. Their voices carry through the old Victorian's thin walls like current through copper wire. "You're embarrassing me, Mom," Maggie's voice cuts through the plaster. "Everyone at school knows you're never home anymore." "I'm building a career, Margaret. Something you'll understand when you're older." "Right. Is that what you call it when you're with Eric every weekend?" The screwdriver slips from my fingers and clatters on the hardwood. Eric Stone, my business partner since high school, my best friend for 25 years. "Maybe if your father wasn't such a loser," Lila's voice turns vicious, "I wouldn't need Eric to feel alive." The house goes quiet, except for the hum of the refrigerator compressor. I sit back on my heels, staring at the tangle of wires in the wall. Guess I'm not the only one getting shocked tonight. Lila's been different these past 6 months, colder, more critical. She made partner at Drummond & Associates last year, and suddenly our little electrical contracting business wasn't impressive enough. Neither was I, apparently. But Eric? That smooth-talking charmer who's been riding my coattails since we started Parish and Stone Electric? The guy who shows up late, leaves early, and somehow always gets credit for our biggest jobs? Before we deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I hear footsteps on the stairs. Lila appears in the kitchen doorway, her lawyer mask firmly in place. Blonde hair perfect, makeup flawless even at midnight. She's wearing that silk robe I bought her for Christmas, the one she claimed was too expensive and impractical. "Still working?" she asks like she cares. "Someone has to pay for your shopping trips to Chicago." She flinches. "Those are business conferences, Jack. You'd know that if you ever listened." "I listen plenty, like tonight." Her face goes pale, but she recovers quickly. That's Lila. Always calculating, always 3 moves ahead. It's what makes her a good lawyer and apparently a better liar. "I don't know what you think you heard. I heard enough." She crosses her arms, and I notice her wedding ring is missing. What's that supposed to mean? I stand up, wiping my hands on a shop rag. It means I'm not as stupid as you think I am. For a moment, her mask slips. I see something that might be guilt, or maybe just annoyance at getting caught. Then it's gone, replaced by that cool, professional demeanor she wears like armor. "We'll talk about this tomorrow," she says. "I have an early meeting." "With Eric?" She doesn't answer, just turns and walks away. Her footsteps echo up the stairs, and I hear our bedroom door close with a soft click. I finish the outlet installation in silence, my mind racing. 20 years of marriage, 20 years of building something together, or so I thought. The business, the house, Maggie. All of it feels different now, like looking at a familiar room through a funhouse mirror. My phone buzzes. Text message from Eric. "Drinks tomorrow. Got some ideas for the Morrison project." The Morrison project. A $50,000 commercial rewiring job that I landed through 3 months of networking and schmoozing. Eric had nothing to do with it, but somehow he's got ideas. I type back, "Sure. Usual place?" "Actually, let's try somewhere new. That hotel bar downtown, the Riverside." The Riverside Hotel. Fancy place where Lila's law firm holds their client dinners, where she's been spending a lot of conference time lately. I delete my response and type a new one. Perfect. The next morning, Lila's gone before I wake up. No coffee made, no note, nothing. just the lingering scent of her perfume and an empty space in the bed that feels bigger than it should. Maggie's at the breakfast table, scrolling through her phone and ignoring the toast I made her. She's got Lila's sharp features and my stubborn jaw, a dangerous combination. "Your mother leave early?" I ask. "She's always leaving early." Maggie doesn't look up from her screen. "Just like you're always working late." "Someone has to keep the lights on." "Whatever, Dad. Can you drive me to school?" Mom took her car. Her car. The BMW I helped her pick out last month. The one she said was necessary for her image at the firm. I wonder if Eric's been riding in it. I drop Maggie at Riverside High and drive to the shop. Parish and Stone Electric occupies a converted garage on the industrial side of town, sandwiched between a tire shop and a place that repairs small engines. Not glamorous, but it's ours. Or was. Eric's already there, leaning against his restored Mustang and talking on his phone. He's got that easy smile that's been charming people since high school, and the kind of confidence that comes from never having to work too hard for anything. He waves when he sees me, finishing his call with a laugh. "Hey, partner, ready for another exciting day of making sparks fly?" If only he knew. "Ready as I'll ever be," I say, unlocking the shop. "Still on for drinks tonight?" "Absolutely. 7 o'clock at the Riverside." I pretend to check my phone. "Actually, make it 6:30. I want to beat the crowd." "Even better. We can grab a good table." We spend the morning working on estimates and scheduling jobs. Eric's in a good mood, whistling while he works, making jokes about our clients. Normal Eric behavior, except now I'm looking for signs. The way he checks his phone every few minutes, how he perks up when it buzzes, the smile that seems just a little too wide. At lunch, I make an excuse about picking up supplies and drive across town to Sloane's salon. Sloane Martinez has been Lila's best friend since college, and she's got her finger on the pulse of every piece of gossip in this town. If anyone knows what's really going on, it's her. The salon is busy, full of middle-aged women getting their weekly dose of highlights and local news. Sloane spots me immediately. I'm probably the only man who's ever voluntarily walked into this place. "Jack Parish," she calls out, not bothering to lower her voice. "What brings you to my little slice of paradise?" Sloane's got the kind of brassy personality that either charms you or drives you crazy. She's been divorced 3 times and seems to enjoy it. Her current husband, Benny, owns the auto parts store and spends most of his time trying to stay out of her way. "Looking for Lila," I lie smoothly. She's not answering her phone. "Honey, she's probably in court or something. You know how busy she's been since making partner." "Yeah, real busy. All those conferences and client dinners." Something flickers across Sloane's face. She glances around the salon, then motions me toward the back room. "Let me just finish Mrs. Henderson's color and we can chat." 20 minutes later, we're sitting in her cluttered office, surrounded by boxes of hair products and fashion magazines. Sloane pours herself coffee from a pot that looks like it's been brewing since the Clinton administration. "So," she says, settling into her chair. "What's really going on, Jack?" "You tell me. You're the one with all the answers in this town." She laughs, but it sounds forced. "I just do hair, honey. I don't solve mysteries." "Come on, Sloane. We've known each other for 15 years. If something was going on with Lila, you'd know about it." For a moment, she looks genuinely uncomfortable. Then she leans forward, lowering her voice. "Look, Jack, I love you both. You know that. But maybe you should be asking Lila these questions, not me." "I'm asking you." She sighs, suddenly looking older than her 38 years. "People talk, okay? In a town this size, they always talk. But that doesn't mean... What do they say?" "Jack, what do they say, Sloane?" She meets my eyes, and I see pity there. It's worse than anger, worse than betrayal. Pity means everyone knows but me. "They say she's been spending a lot of time with Eric. Business stuff, probably, but you know how people are. They see a successful woman having lunch with a handsome man, and they assume, lunch? Dinners, too. At nice places. The Riverside Hotel has that new restaurant and… She stops, realizing what she's just confirmed. The Riverside Hotel, where Eric suggested we meet tonight. I stand up, my chair scraping against the linoleum. Thanks, Sloan. I appreciate the honesty. Jack, wait. Don't do anything stupid, okay? Whatever's going on, there's probably a perfectly reasonable explanation. I pause at the door. You really believe that? She doesn't answer, which is answer enough. I spend the afternoon in a haze, going through the motions of work while my mind churns. By 5:30, I'm sitting in my truck outside the Riverside Hotel, watching the entrance. The place is all glass and steel, trying too hard to bring big city sophistication to our little river town. At 5:45, Lila's BMW pulls into the parking lot. She gets out, checks her appearance in the side mirror, and walks toward the entrance. She's wearing the black dress I complimented her on last week, the one she said was for a boring client dinner. Eric arrives 10 minutes later, parking his Mustang next to her BMW like they planned it. He's cleaned up nice, dress shirt, good pants, cologne I can smell from 20 feet away. This isn't a business meeting. I wait another 5 minutes, then follow them inside. The hotel bar is dimly lit, all dark wood and leather chairs. It's trying to be classy, but it just feels pretentious. I spot them immediately, sitting at a corner table, leaning close together like lovers sharing secrets. Because that's what they are. I order a beer at the bar and pretend to watch the baseball game on the overhead TV. In the mirror behind the bottles, I can see their table clearly. Lila's laughing at something Eric said, her hand resting on his arm. He's got that stupid grin on his face, the one that used to mean he'd just landed a big account or talked his way out of trouble. They're not even trying to hide it. I pull out my phone and text Lila. Working late again tonight. Don't wait up. I watch her check her phone, see her shoulders relax. She shows Eric the message, and they both smile, like they're getting away with something, which, until tonight, they were. I finish my beer and leave a 20 on the bar. As I walk past their table, I pause just long enough to make eye contact with Lila. Her face goes white, her mouth opening in a little O of surprise. Enjoy your dinner, I say quietly, loud enough for Eric to hear. Eric turns around, and his expression shifts from confusion to panic in about 2 seconds. Jack! Hey buddy, what are you doing here? Meeting you for drinks, remember? 6:30 at the Riverside? The silence stretches between us like a taut wire. Other patrons are starting to notice the tension, conversations fading as they sense drama building. I can explain, Eric starts, but I hold up a hand. No need, I can see exactly what's going on. Lila finds her voice. Jack, this isn't what it looks like. I laugh, and it sounds harsh in the quiet bar. Lady, I've been married to you for 20 years. I know exactly what this looks like. I lean down, close enough that only they can hear me. Enjoy the rest of your evening, both of you. We'll talk soon. I walk away, leaving them sitting there like deer in headlights. My hands are shaking with rage, but my mind is crystal clear for the first time in months. Outside, the evening air feels cool against my flushed face. I look back at the hotel, at the warm light spilling from the windows, and make a decision that will change everything. They want to play games? Fine. But they're about to learn that 20 years of keeping this town's lights on has taught me a thing or two about power and how to cut it off. I don't go home. Instead, I drive to Murphy's Tavern, the kind of place where the beer is cheap and the bartender minds his own business. It's the opposite of the Riverside Hotel, all scratched wood and neon signs with the smell of fried food and honest sweat. Red Kowalski is sitting at his usual spot at the end of the bar, nursing a whiskey and watching the game. Red trained me when I was boxing in my 20s, back when I thought I could punch my way out of this town. He's 75 now, all gray stubble and weathered hands, but his eyes are still sharp. You look like someone stole your lunch money, he says, as I slide onto the stool next to him. Something like that. I order a bourbon, the good stuff, not the well liquor I usually drink. If I'm going to wallow, I might as well do it right. Woman trouble? Red asks. Is it that obvious? Son, I've been married 4 times. I recognize the look. I tell him everything. The overheard conversation, the hotel bar, the way they looked at each other like I was invisible. Red listens without interrupting, occasionally nodding or making small sounds of understanding. When I finish, he's quiet for a long moment. What are you going to do about it? I don't know. Lawyer up, I guess. Fight for half of everything. That's one way. He turns to face me, his expression serious. Or you could fight back. What's that supposed to mean? Means they humiliated you, Jack. In public. Made you look like a fool. Sometimes a man's got to defend his dignity. I'm not going to hurt anyone, Red. Who said anything about hurting? I'm talking about evening the score, making them face consequences for their choices. He finishes his whiskey and stands up. You want my advice? Don't get mad. Get smart. Use that brain of yours for something besides running wire. After he leaves, I sit alone with my thoughts and my bourbon. The TV drones in the background, but I'm not watching. I'm thinking about consequences. By the time I get home, it's past midnight. Lila's car is in the driveway, but the house is dark. I let myself in quietly, not wanting to wake Maggie. The kitchen still smells like the electrical work I was doing last night, burned insulation and copper wire. There's a note on the counter in Lila's handwriting. We need to talk. Tomorrow. I crumple it up and toss it in the trash. Tomorrow is going to be very interesting. I'm up at 5:30, showered and dressed before Lila's alarm goes off. When she comes downstairs, I'm sitting at the kitchen table with coffee and the newspaper, acting like nothing happened. Jack, she starts, but I don't look up from the sports page. Morning. Coffee's fresh. She pours herself a cup, her movements careful and deliberate. About last night. What about it? We need to discuss. Do we? I fold the paper and finally look at her. Seems pretty clear to me. You're sleeping with my business partner, my best friend, in public no less. She flinches like I slapped her. It's not that simple. Sure it is. You made a choice. Now you get to live with it. Jack, please, let me explain. Explain what? How long it's been going on? Whether you love him? Whether you ever loved me? I stand up, my chair scraping against the floor. Save it, Lila. I've heard enough. Maggie chooses that moment to walk into the kitchen, still in her pajamas and half asleep. She looks between us, sensing the tension. What's going on? She asks. Nothing, honey, Lila says quickly. Just a misunderstanding. Right, I say. A misunderstanding. That's one way to put it. I grab my keys and head for the door. I'll be at the shop if anyone needs me, though I doubt anyone will. The drive to Parish and Stone Electric gives me time to think. Red was right. I need to be smart about this. Emotional reactions will just make me look weak, give them ammunition to use against me. Eric's already at the shop when I arrive, pacing nervously beside his Mustang. He looks like he didn't sleep much, which gives me a small measure of satisfaction. Jack, thank God you're here. We need to talk. Do we? About last night. About what you saw. It's not what I think it is. I unlock the shop door. Seems like everyone wants to tell me what I think today. He follows me inside, running his hands through his hair. Look, I know how it looked, but it looked like you were having dinner with my wife, in a hotel bar, acting like a couple. We were just talking, about business, about Eric. I turn to face him, and something in my expression makes him stop mid-sentence. How long? He knows what I'm asking. His shoulders slump. 6 months, maybe 7. Since she made partner. It wasn't planned, Jack. It just happened. We were working on that contract dispute for Morrison Industries, spending a lot of time together, and you decided to take something that wasn't yours. His face flushes. It's not like that. We have feelings for each other. Real feelings. Congratulations. I'm sure you'll be very happy together. He blinks, confused by my calm response. What does that mean? It means I'm done. With her, with you, with all of this. I gesture around the shop. Find yourself a new partner, Eric. This one's dissolved. You can't be serious. We built this business together. No, I built this business. You just showed up and took credit. That stings, and I can see it in his face. Good. Let him hurt for a change. Jack, come on. Don't throw away 20 years over. Over what? My wife? My marriage? My trust? I laugh, and it sounds bitter even to me. You're right, Eric. That's not worth much, is it? He tries to argue, but I'm not listening anymore. I'm thinking about the contracts in our filing cabinet, the client list I've built over 2 decades, the reputation I've earned one job at a time. By 10 o'clock, I've made 6 phone calls. By noon, I've got appointments with a lawyer, an accountant, and a locksmith. Eric spends the morning trying to talk to me, but I'm done talking. When he finally leaves for lunch, I change the locks. My phone rings while I'm boxing up my personal tools. It's Lila. Eric called me, she says without preamble. He says you're dissolving the partnership. That's right. Jack, you're being irrational. You can't just what? Protect my interests? Take control of my own life? Watch me. We need to discuss this like adults. Adults don't sneak around behind their spouse's back. There's a long pause. I want a divorce. The words hit me like a punch to the gut, even though I was expecting them. I figured as much. We can do this civilly, split things fairly, think about Maggie. I am thinking about Maggie. I'm thinking about how her mother's choices are going to affect her. My choices? What about your choices, Jack? Working 60 hours a week, never being home, treating me like I'm just another piece of furniture. So, this is my fault? I'm not saying it's anyone's fault. I'm saying we grew apart. People change. Yeah, they do. Some of them change into liars and cheaters. She hangs up on me. I finish packing my tools and load them into my truck. When Eric returns from lunch, he finds the shop locked and a note on the door. Partnership dissolved effective immediately. Contact my lawyer for details. I'm sitting in my truck across the street, watching him read the note. His face goes through a range of emotions: surprise, anger, fear. He tries the door, then peers through the windows like he can't believe what's happening. He calls my phone. I let it go to voicemail. Then he calls Lila. I can see him pacing while he talks, gesturing wildly. Whatever she's telling him, he doesn't like it. After he leaves, I drive to the bank. I've got some financial housekeeping to do. The next few days pass in a blur of legal meetings and paperwork. My lawyer, Tom Polk, is a good guy who's helped me with contracts over the years. He listens to my story without judgment and lays out my options. The business is going to be complicated, he says. You're both listed as equal partners, but you can prove you did most of the work building the client base. What about the house? Joint ownership, but you've been paying the mortgage for 20 years. Plus, there's Maggie to consider. Courts usually favor keeping kids in stable housing. And if I want to make this difficult for them? Tom raises an eyebrow. How difficult? As difficult as legally possible. He leans back in his chair. Jack, I have to ask, are you sure this is the path you want to take? Scorched earth divorces get expensive and ugly. Sometimes it's better to just walk away. They humiliated me, Tom, in public, made me look like a fool while they carried on behind my back. So this is about revenge? This is about consequences. Tom nods slowly. All right, but understand, if we go this route, there's no going back. Relationships will be destroyed. Reputations will be damaged. Your daughter will be caught in the middle. My daughter already is in the middle. At least this way, she'll know her father isn't a pushover. Okay then, let's make them pay. That evening, I'm at Murphy's again, nursing a beer and thinking about my next move. The place is busier than usual. Friday night crowd looking to unwind after a long week. Mrs. Wilcox, my nosy neighbor, spots me from across the room and makes her way over. She's got to be 70, but she moves through the crowd like a woman half her age. "Jack Parish," she says, sliding onto the stool next to me. "Haven't seen you around the neighborhood much lately." "Been busy, Mrs. W." "I bet you have." She orders a gin and tonic, then leans closer. "Heard there's some trouble at home." In a town this size, gossip travels faster than electricity. "You heard right. That wife of yours has been acting mighty strange lately, coming and going at all hours dressed up like she's going somewhere special." "Is that so?" "Mm-hmm. And that Eric Stone's been by the house a few times when you weren't there. Helping with electrical problems," Lila told me. Mrs. Wilcox snorts. "Only electrical problem I see is her wiring's gotten crossed." Despite everything, I almost smile. Mrs. Wilcox has never liked Lila, always thought she put on airs. Looks like her instincts were right. "Well," I say, "I appreciate you looking out for me. Honey, I've been watching this neighborhood for 40 years. I see everything." She pats my arm. "And I remember everything too. You ever need a witness to anything, you just let me know." A witness. Now there's an interesting thought. I buy Mrs. Wilcox another gin and tonic and listen to her stories about the neighborhood. She's got a memory like a steel trap and the observational skills of a private investigator. By the time I leave, I've got a timeline of Lila and Eric's affair that goes back 8 months, not 6. 8 months of lies. 8 months of sneaking around. 8 months of making me look like an idiot. The next morning is Saturday, and I'm up early working in the garage when Maggie finds me. She's wearing her soccer uniform. She's got a game at 10. "Dad, can you drive me? Mom's not feeling well." "Sure, sweetheart." We drive in silence for a while, the radio playing softly in the background. Finally, Maggie speaks up. "Are you and Mom getting divorced?" The question hits me like a sucker punch. "What makes you ask that?" "You're not talking to each other. You sleep in the guest room now, and Mom's been crying a lot." I glance at her in the rearview mirror. She looks older than 16, like she's been forced to grow up too fast. "Would it bother you if we were?" "I don't know. Maybe. All my friends' parents are divorced." She's quiet for a moment. "Is it because of Uncle Eric?" Uncle Eric. That's what she's called him since she was little. My best friend, the guy who taught her to throw a curveball and helped her with her math homework. "Why would you ask that?" "Because he's been coming around a lot, and Mom gets all weird when his name comes up. Plus, Jessica Morrison's mom saw them having dinner together at that fancy hotel. Jessica Morrison. Her father owns Morrison Industries, the account Eric's been so eager to work on. The account that started this whole thing. What do you think about that?" I ask. Maggie shrugs, but I can see she's upset. "I think it's gross. Mom's married to you, not him." "Yeah, she is. So what are you going to do about it?" "Good question. What am I going to do about it?" I drop Maggie at her game and drive around town thinking. The place looks different now, like I'm seeing it through new eyes. The river that gave the town its name, brown and sluggish as it winds toward the lake. The old brick buildings downtown, half of them empty now. The neighborhoods spreading out from the center like ripples, getting nicer as they get farther from the water. This is my town. I've wired half the buildings, fixed problems in most of the houses, helped keep the lights on for 20 years. People know me, respect me, trust me with their homes and businesses. And Lila and Eric think they can make me look like a fool. I drive past the Riverside Hotel, then past Eric's apartment complex. His Mustang is in the parking lot, freshly washed and gleaming in the morning sun. He's always been proud of that car, spent every weekend working on it. Such a shame if something happened to it. But no, that's too simple, too obvious. If I'm going to do this, I need to be smart about it, strategic. I need to make them hurt where it counts. By the time I pick up Maggie from her game, they won 3-1. I've got the beginnings of a plan. It's not complete yet, but it's a start. Good game, I tell her as she tosses her gear bag in the back seat. Thanks. Coach says I might make varsity next year. That's great, honey. I'm proud of you. She smiles, and for a moment she looks like the little girl who used to help me sort screws in the garage. Dad, whatever happens with you and Mom, you're not going anywhere, right? I'm not going anywhere, Maggie, I promise. And I mean it. This is my town, my life, my daughter. I'm not running away. But I'm not rolling over either. Monday morning, I'm sitting in my lawyer's office with a cup of coffee and a head full of ideas. Tom Polk looks like he didn't sleep much over the weekend. His usually perfect hair is mussed, and there are papers scattered across his desk. I've been thinking about your case, he says, settling into his chair, and I think we can make this very expensive for them. I'm listening. First, the business. You incorporated as equal partners, but you can prove you brought in 80% of the clients. We can argue that Eric's partnership was more of a generous gesture than a reflection of actual contribution. What's that worth? If we can prove it, could be worth the whole business, or at least force him to buy you out at full value. That's interesting. Eric doesn't have that kind of money. He spends everything he makes on his car, his clothes, his image. What else? The house. It's in both your names, but you've been making the payments. We can argue that Lila's income went to her personal expenses. Clothes, car payments, those business dinners. Can we freeze her accounts? Tom raises an eyebrow. Feeling vindictive? Feeling practical. If she wants to play house with Eric, she can do it on her own dime. We can request temporary spousal support, which would essentially freeze joint assets until the divorce is final. Could take months. Months of Lila having to ask for money like a teenager. Months of her fancy lifestyle being put on hold. Do it. Jack, I have to warn you again. This is going to get ugly. They'll fight back. Let them. I'm not the one who broke the rules. After the meeting, I drive to the shop. My shop now, since I changed the locks. Eric's been calling and texting, but I'm not responding. Let him sweat. There's a pile of messages on the answering machine. 3 from Eric, 2 from potential clients, and 1 from Morrison Industries asking about their project timeline. That's the big contract Eric was so excited about. $50,000 in electrical work for their new warehouse. I call Morrison back and speak directly with Jim Morrison, the owner. We've known each other for years. I rewired his house when his kids were small. Jack, glad you called. We're eager to get started on the warehouse project. About that, Jim. There's been a change in our business structure. Eric Stone is no longer with the company. Silence on the other end. I see. Is there a problem? Just a difference of opinion about business practices. Nothing that affects our ability to do your job. Well, to be honest, Jack, we were working with Eric because he understood our timeline constraints. We need this done fast. I understand. And I can guarantee you'll get the same quality work, probably faster, since I won't have to coordinate with a partner. What about manpower? This is a big job. I've got reliable subcontractors. The job will get done right, on time, and under budget. We talk for another 10 minutes, and by the end of the call, I've got a signed contract for the Morrison project. $50,000 in revenue that Eric was counting on, now coming to me exclusively. My phone rings as soon as I hang up. Eric's name on the caller ID. You stole my client, he says without preamble. I secured a contract for my business. Morrison was my account. I developed that relationship. Morrison's been my client for 15 years, Eric. You just happened to be in the room when he called. This is ridiculous, Jack. You can't just shut me out of everything we built together. Watch me. I hang up and immediately call my 3 best subcontractors. By the end of the day, I've got commitments for the Morrison job and 2 other projects Eric was hoping to bid on. Word travels fast in the electrical trade. Everyone knows about the partnership split, and most of them are choosing sides. They're choosing mine. That evening, I'm home early for the first time in weeks. Maggie's at soccer practice, and Lila's car isn't in the driveway. I use the time to go through our financial records, making copies of everything for Tom. The numbers tell an interesting story. Over the past year, Lila's spending has increased dramatically. Expensive dinners, hotel stays, shopping trips to Chicago, all charged to our joint credit card, all happening on days when she claimed to be working late or attending conferences. I'm particularly interested in the hotel charges. The Riverside Hotel appears 17 times in the past 6 months, always on weekends, always for dinner and drinks. Sometimes there are room charges too, business meetings that apparently required privacy. My phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. This is getting out of hand. We need to talk. I text back, "Who is this?" "Sloan. Meet me at the salon after hours, 8 p.m. Interesting. Lila's best friend wants a private conversation. I arrive at the salon at 8 sharp. The place is closed, but Sloan lets me in through the back door. She looks nervous, fidgeting with her keys and avoiding eye contact. "Thanks for coming," she says, leading me to her office. "We need to clear the air about some things." Such as? Such as how far you're planning to take this war with Lila and Eric. I settle into the chair across from her desk. That depends on how far they want to push it. Jack, I know you're hurt. I know you feel betrayed, but destroying them isn't going to make you feel better. You think this is about feeling better? Isn't it? I study her face, looking for tells. Sloane's always been dramatic, but tonight she seems genuinely worried. What aren't you telling me, Sloane? She sighs, suddenly looking older. Lila's scared, Jack. Really scared. She knows she messed up, but she doesn't know how to fix it. She could start by being honest. She wants to be, but you won't talk to her. What's the point? She made her choice. Sloane leans forward, her expression earnest. What if I told you it wasn't entirely her choice? That stops me cold. What do you mean? I mean, Eric can be very persuasive when he wants something, and he's wanted Lila for a long time. Are you saying he forced her? I'm saying he saw an opportunity when she was feeling neglected and took advantage of it. Neglected. There's that word again. So, this is still my fault? It's nobody's fault, Jack. It's just a situation that got out of hand. I stand up, suddenly tired of the conversation. You know what, Sloane? I don't care whose fault it is anymore. I don't care who started it or who's more to blame. I only care about what happens next. And what's that? They humiliated me, made me look like a fool in front of the whole town. Now they get to face the consequences. She follows me to the door. Jack, please, think about Maggie. Think about what this is doing to her. I am thinking about Maggie. I'm thinking about what kind of example I want to set for her. Do I want her to think it's okay for people to walk all over her? Or do I want her to see that actions have consequences? I leave Sloane standing in the doorway, looking worried and defeated. The next morning brings news that makes me smile for the first time in days. Tom calls with an update on the financial front. The court approved the temporary asset freeze, he says. Lila's personal accounts are locked pending the divorce proceedings. What does that mean practically? It means she can't access any joint funds without court approval. No more expensive dinners, no more shopping trips, no more hotel rooms. How long does this last? Until the divorce is final. Could be 6 months, could be longer if they contest it. 6 months of Lila having to ask permission to spend money. 6 months of her high-maintenance lifestyle being put on hold. What about Eric? Any way to make his life difficult? Well, funny you should ask. I did some digging into the partnership dissolution. Turns out there's a non-compete clause in your original agreement. Meaning? Meaning Eric can't start his own electrical business in this county for 2 years. And he can't solicit your existing clients. That's even better than I hoped. So, if he wants to stay in the electrical trade, he has to move or work for someone else. Exactly. And given his reputation in the trade, I doubt many contractors would hire him. Eric's reputation. That's something I helped build over the years, vouching for his work, covering for his mistakes, sharing credit for jobs he barely participated in. Now it's going to work against him. There's one more thing, Tom continues. I found some irregularities in the business accounts. It looks like Eric's been padding his expense reports. How much are we talking about? Maybe $5,000 over the past year, claiming meals and travel that were actually personal expenses. $5,000 isn't a fortune, but it's enough to cause problems. Is that prosecutable? Probably not criminally, but it's definitely grounds for a civil suit. We could demand full restitution plus damages. Do it. After the call, I sit in my truck outside the courthouse, thinking about the web of consequences I'm weaving around Lila and Eric. The business, the money, the reputation damage, it's all adding up to a very expensive lesson in loyalty. My phone rings. Maggie's school. Mr. Parish? This is Principal Watson. I need you to come in and discuss Maggie's behavior. What kind of behavior? She got into an altercation with another student. Nothing physical, but there was some harsh language involved. Great. Now the family drama is affecting Maggie's school life. I'll be right there. 20 minutes later, I'm sitting in Principal Watson's office with Maggie slumped in the chair next to me. She looks defiant and embarrassed at the same time. What happened? I ask. Jessica Morrison was talking about you and Mom, Maggie says, saying things about the divorce, about Mom and Uncle Eric. I told her to shut up. What kind of things? Maggie glances at Principal Watson, then back at me. She said everyone knows Mom's having an affair, that you're going to lose everything because you're not smart enough to keep your wife happy. The words hit me like a physical blow. This is what my daughter is hearing at school, the gossip and speculation that follows her through the halls. I'm sorry, sweetheart, I say. You shouldn't have to deal with that. It's not your fault, Dad. It's theirs. Principal Watson clears his throat. Mr. Parish, I understand this is a difficult time for your family, but Maggie can't respond to gossip with aggression. It only makes things worse. He's right, of course, but hearing that my 16-year-old daughter is defending my honor in the school hallway makes me proud and heartbroken at the same time. It won't happen again, I tell him. On the drive home, Maggie is quiet until we're almost at the house. Then she speaks up. Dad, are you really going to lose everything? No, honey, I'm not going to lose anything that matters. What about the house? The house is just a building, Maggie. Home is wherever we are. She nods, but I can see she's still worried. And why shouldn't she be? Her whole world is falling apart because of choices made by the adults she trusted. That evening, I make a decision that surprises even me. I call Lila. Jack? She sounds shocked to hear from me. We need to talk about Maggie. Yes, we do. She's caught in the middle of this, and it's not fair to her. Meet me at Murphy's in an hour. We'll figure out how to handle this. Murphy's? That dive bar? Can't we meet somewhere more? Murphy's, Lila, 1 hour. She's already there when I arrive, looking out of place in her business suit among the working-class crowd. She's ordered wine, but it sits untouched in front of her. Thank you for calling, she says as I sit down. This isn't a reconciliation, Lila. This is about our daughter. I understand. I order a beer and study her face. She looks tired, older than her 39 years. The stress is showing. Maggie got in trouble at school today. She was defending me against gossip about our marriage. Lila's face crumples. Oh, God. I never wanted this to affect her. Well, it has. The whole town is talking, and she's hearing all of it. What do? We minimize the damage. We act like adults instead of children. We put her needs first. Lila nods, tears starting to form in her eyes. I never meant for this to happen, Jack. I never meant to hurt you or Maggie. But you did. I know, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. For a moment, I almost feel sorry for her. She looks genuinely remorseful, genuinely broken by what she's done. But then I remember the hotel bar, the way she laughed at Eric's jokes while I was home thinking everything was fine. Sorry doesn't fix this, Lila. I know that too. She wipes her eyes with a napkin. What do you want from me? I want you to think about what you're doing to our daughter. Every time you sneak around with Eric, every time you lie about where you've been, you're teaching her that promises don't matter. That marriage is just a convenience to be discarded when something better comes along. That's exactly what you're doing, and now she's fighting your battles at school because she's ashamed of what you've become. The words are harsh, but they need to be said. Lila flinches like I've slapped her. What do you want me to do? I want you to end it with Eric. I want you to focus on being a mother instead of chasing whatever fantasy you think he's offering. And then what? We just pretend this never happened? No. We get divorced like civilized people and try to salvage what's left of our family. She's quiet for a long time, staring into her wine glass. Finally, she looks up at me. What if I can't end it with Eric? Then you'll have to live with the consequences. What does that mean? I finish my beer and stand up. It means I'm done being the understanding husband. It means I'm going to protect my interests and my daughter's future. Whatever it takes. Jack, wait! But I'm already walking away, leaving her sitting alone in the bar with her untouched wine and her choices. Outside, the night air feels clean and cold. I sit in my truck for a moment, thinking about the conversation. Part of me had hoped she would choose differently, would realize what she was throwing away. But deep down, I knew she wouldn't. She's too far down this path to turn back now, which means I need to get serious about consequences. The next morning, I'm at the Morrison Industries warehouse by 7 a.m., ready to start the biggest electrical job of my career. $50,000 in revenue, all mine now that Eric's out of the picture. The work is complex, rewiring a 40,000 square foot facility while keeping their operations running. Jim Morrison meets me at the loading dock, coffee in hand, and a worried expression on his face. Jack, I need to ask you something, and I want a straight answer. Shoot. This situation with Eric, is it going to affect the job? Because I can't afford delays or drama. Jim, I've been doing electrical work in this town for 20 years. I've never missed a deadline, never left a job unfinished. This personal stuff doesn't change that. He nods, but I can see he's still concerned. What about manpower? This is a big project. I've got 3 good subcontractors lined up. Tommy Rodriguez, Mike Chen, and Dave Walsh. You know their work. I do. They're solid. He relaxes slightly. All right, Jack, but I need your word that this gets done right and on time. You've got it. We spend the next hour walking through the facility, reviewing the electrical plans and timeline. It's good, honest work, the kind that built my reputation in this town. By the time I leave, I feel more like myself than I have in weeks. My phone buzzes as I'm loading tools into my truck. Text from Eric. We need to talk. This has gone too far. I ignore it and drive to my next appointment, a consultation with Mrs. Henderson about rewiring her century-old Victorian. She's been a client for 15 years, ever since I helped her restore the place after her husband passed. Jack Parish, she says, greeting me at the front door. I heard about your troubles. I'm sorry, dear. Thank you, Mrs. Henderson. These things happen. They certainly do. My first husband ran off with his secretary back in 1987. Thought it was the end of the world at the time. First husband? She smiles, a mischievous glint in her eye. Oh, yes. I remarried 5 years later. Much better the second time around. Sometimes life has to knock you down before you can see what you really need. We spend an hour going through her electrical needs, but I find myself thinking about her words. Maybe this disaster is actually an opportunity, a chance to rebuild my life the way I want it instead of the way I thought it should be. By the time I get back to the shop, there are 3 messages on the answering machine. 2 from potential clients who heard I was working solo now, and 1 from Sloan. Jack, it's Sloan. Something's happened. Call me. I dial her number and she picks up on the first ring. Thank God you called, she says. Lila's in the hospital. My stomach drops. What happened? She collapsed at work this morning. They think it's stress-related, but they're running tests to be sure. What hospital? Riverside General. Jack, she's asking for you. 20 minutes later, I'm walking through the antiseptic halls of the hospital, following signs to the emergency department. I find Lila in a curtained-off area, looking small and pale in the hospital gown. Jack, she says when she sees me, thank you for coming. What did the doctors say? Exhaustion, stress, maybe an ulcer. They want to keep me overnight for observation. I pull up a chair next to her bed. Despite everything that's happened, she's still the mother of my child, still someone I once loved. Have you called Maggie? Not yet. I didn't want to worry her. She needs to know. I'll pick her up from school and bring her by. Lila nods, tears starting to form again. Jack, I've been thinking about what you said last night, about Maggie, about the example I'm setting. And? You're right. I've been selfish. I've been thinking about what I wanted instead of what she needed. So, what are you going to do about it? She's quiet for a long moment, staring at the ceiling. I'm going to end it with Eric. I want to believe her, but trust isn't something that can be rebuilt with words. When? Today, as soon as I get out of here. And then? And then I'm going to try to be a better mother, a better person. She looks at me, her eyes pleading. I know I can't fix what I've done to us, Jack, but maybe I can keep from making it worse. I nod, not trusting myself to speak. Part of me wants to forgive her, to try to rebuild what we had, but the rational part of my brain knows it's too late for that. Too much has been said, too much damage done. I'll get Maggie, I say, standing up. She'll want to see you. Jack? She calls as I reach the curtain. I really am sorry for everything. I know. I pick up Maggie from soccer practice and explain the situation during the drive to the hospital. She's worried, but not surprised. She's seen the stress her mother's been under. Is she going to be okay? Maggie asks as we walk through the hospital corridors. Physically, yes. Everything else, we'll have to see. Maggie spends an hour with Lila while I wait in the hallway, thinking about the conversation. If Lila really does end things with Eric, it might change the dynamic of the divorce. But it doesn't change what's already happened, the trust that's already been broken. My phone buzzes with another text from Eric. Heard about Lila. This needs to stop before someone gets seriously hurt. This time I text back, meet me at Murphy's, 9 p.m. It's time to have this conversation face to face. Murphy's is busy for a Tuesday night, but I find a table in the back corner where we can talk without being overheard. Eric arrives 10 minutes late, looking haggard and nervous. Thanks for agreeing to meet, he says, sliding into the seat across from me. Don't thank me yet. He orders a beer, his hands shaking slightly. Jack, this whole situation has gotten out of control. Lila's in the hospital, you've destroyed my business, and Maggie's caught in the middle. We need to find a way to fix this. Fix this? Eric, you've been sleeping with my wife for 8 months. You've been lying to my face, stealing from our business, making me look like an idiot in front of the whole town. What exactly do you want to fix? I want to make it right. How? He runs his hands through his hair, looking desperate. I don't know. Maybe I could leave town, start over somewhere else. Maybe you should have thought about consequences before you decided to betray your best friend. Jack, please. I know I messed up. I know I hurt you. But I never meant for it to go this far. What did you mean for it to be? A quick affair? A little fun on the side while I worked 60 hours a week to keep our business running? It wasn't like that. Lila and I, We have real feelings for each other. The words sting, even though I was expecting them. Real feelings. How romantic. I love her, Jack. You love the idea of her. You love taking something that belonged to someone else. You've been doing it since high school, taking credit for my work, charming your way out of responsibility, letting other people clean up your messes. Eric's face flushes. That's not fair. Fair? You want to talk about fair? I lean forward, my voice low and intense. Fair would have been you coming to me 8 months ago and telling me you had feelings for my wife. Fair would have been dissolving our partnership before you started your affair. Fair would have been treating me with the respect I earned after 25 years of friendship. You're right, he says quietly. I should have handled it differently. Yes, you should have. But you didn't. You chose to sneak around, to lie, to make me look like a fool. Now you get to live with those choices. What do you want from me, Jack? Money? I'll pay you whatever you think I owe. An apology? I'm sorry, truly sorry for everything. I finish my beer and stand up. What I want, Eric, is for you to understand that actions have consequences. You wanted my wife? Congratulations, you can have her. But you can't have her and your old life, too. You can't have her and your business reputation. You can't have her and my friendship. So that's it? 25 years of friendship? Gone? You ended our friendship when you started sleeping with Lila. I'm just making it official. I leave him sitting at the table, staring into his beer like it might have answers. Outside, the night air feels clean and sharp. My phone rings as I'm getting into my truck. Jack? It's Lila, calling from the hospital. I talked to Eric. It's over between us. Good. I meant what I said earlier about trying to be better. We'll see. Jack, is there any chance, any possibility that we could work through this? For Maggie's sake? The question hangs in the air between us. I think about Mrs. Henderson's story, about second chances and new beginnings. I think about the 20 years Lila and I built together, the good times before everything went wrong. But then I think about the hotel bar, about 8 months of lies, about the way she looked at Eric like he was her salvation, and I was just an obstacle. No, Lila, there isn't. She's quiet for a moment. I understand. I had to ask. Get some rest. I'll bring Maggie by tomorrow after school. The next few weeks pass in a blur of legal meetings, electrical work, and awkward family dinners. Lila comes home from the hospital and moves into the guest bedroom. We're civil to each other for Maggie's sake, but the tension is always there, crackling like a live wire. Eric disappears from our social circle, apparently taking my advice about leaving town. I hear through the grapevine that he's moved to Chicago, trying to start over in a city where nobody knows his history. The Morrison project goes smoothly, finished ahead of schedule and under budget. Word spreads through the contractor network, and suddenly I'm busier than I've ever been. Turns out, being a solo act has advantages. Clients know exactly who they're dealing with, and I can move faster without having to coordinate with a partner. But the real test comes on a Friday night in November at the annual Chamber of Commerce dinner. It's the kind of event Lila and I used to attend together, making small talk with clients and community leaders. This year, I'm going alone. The dinner is held at the Riverside Hotel, the same place where I caught Lila and Eric together. I almost skip it, but then I realize that would be letting them win. This is my town, my business community. I'm not going to hide. I'm standing at the bar, nursing a beer and making conversation with Jim Morrison, when I see her. Lila, across the room, talking to her boss and looking every inch the successful lawyer. She's wearing the blue dress I bought her for our anniversary last year, and she looks beautiful and confident and completely out of my league. For a moment, I remember why I fell in love with her 20 years ago. The ambition, the intelligence, the way she could light up a room when she walked in. But then she glances in my direction, and I see something else in her eyes. Regret, maybe, or sadness for what we lost. She looks good, Jim says, following my gaze. Yeah, she does. You ever think about trying again, working things out? I consider the question seriously. Sometimes, but wanting something and being able to have it are two different things. That's very philosophical for a guy who works with his hands. I laugh. My ex-boxing coach used to say that the hardest fights aren't in the ring, they're in here. I tap my chest, learning when to fight and when to walk away. Which one is this? I watch Lila excuse herself from her conversation and walk toward the ladies' room. She has to pass by the bar, and for a moment our eyes meet. There's a question there, an invitation maybe. But I just nod politely and turn back to my conversation. This one, I tell Jim, is learning to walk away. The evening passes without incident. Lila and I manage to avoid each other, and I actually enjoy myself, talking shop with other contractors and making connections for future work. It feels like a small victory, proof that I can move forward, that my life isn't defined by what I lost. But as I'm leaving, Lila intercepts me in the parking lot. Jack, wait. I turn around, keys in hand. What is it, Lila? I just wanted to say, you look good, happy. Thank you. The business is going well? Very well. She nods, wrapping her coat tighter against the November chill. I'm glad. You deserve success. So do you. We stand there for a moment. Two people who used to know everything about each other, now struggling to make small talk. Finally, she speaks. Do you ever think about what might have happened if you hadn't had an affair with my best friend? She flinches. Yes. Sometimes. But then I remember that you did, and that changes everything. I know, I miss what we had, before everything went wrong. So do I. But missing something doesn't mean you can get it back. She nods, tears starting to form. I should go. Lila. She turns back. For what it's worth, I hope you find what you're looking for. Thank you, Jack. That means more than you know. I watch her walk to her car, then get in my truck and drive home. The house is quiet. Maggie's spending the night at a friend's house, and Lila won't be back for hours. I pour myself a bourbon and sit in my chair, thinking about the conversation. There was a time when seeing Lila upset would have broken my heart, when I would have done anything to make her smile again. But tonight, I feel nothing but a distant sadness for what we lost. Maybe that's growth. Maybe that's healing. Or maybe that's just what happens when you finally accept that some things can't be fixed, no matter how much you want them to be. My phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. Saw you at the dinner tonight. You handled yourself well. Read. I smile, remembering my old boxing coach's advice about fighting and walking away. Tonight, I walked away. And for the first time in months, that feels like winning. 3 months later, I'm standing in the courthouse lobby, waiting for the final divorce hearing. The marble floors echo with footsteps and hushed conversations, the sound of lives being legally dismantled and reassembled. Tom Polk is reviewing papers beside me, his expression confident. This should be straightforward, he says. We've agreed on most of the major points. The settlement is better than I expected. I keep the house, the business, and most of our savings. Lila gets her car, her retirement account, and enough money to start fresh. More importantly, we've worked out a custody arrangement that puts Maggie's needs first. Mr. Parish? A young clerk approaches. Judge Morrison will see you now. Judge Morrison, Jim Morrison's older brother, who's been presiding over family court for 15 years. I wonder if he knows about the electrical work I did for his brother, about the professional relationship that helped me through this difficult time. The hearing takes less than an hour. Lila and I sit on opposite sides of the courtroom, answering the judge's questions about property division, child support, and custody arrangements. It's all very civil, very adult, very different from the emotional warfare of the past few months. When it's over, we're divorced. 20 years of marriage dissolved with the bang of a gavel and the signing of papers. Outside the courthouse, Lila approaches me as I'm loading documents into my truck. Jack, I wanted to thank you. For what? For not making this uglier than it had to be. For thinking about Maggie through all of this. She's our daughter. She didn't ask for any of this. Lila nods, adjusting her purse strap nervously. I also wanted you to know, Eric and I aren't together anymore. That surprises me. What happened? Turns out, taking someone else's husband isn't as romantic as it seems in the movies. We wanted different things, had different ideas about the future. She pauses. Mostly, I think we were both running away from our problems instead of facing them. I'm sorry it didn't work out. Are you? I consider the question honestly. Yeah, I am. Not because I want you back, but because I want you to be happy. We were friends long before we were married, Lila. I'd like to think we can be friends again someday. I'd like that too. She walks away, and I watch her go without the anger that's been my constant companion for months. Maybe Tom was right about healing taking time. Maybe forgiveness isn't something you decide to do. It's something that happens when you're ready. That evening, I'm at Murphy's celebrating the end of one chapter and the beginning of another. Red is there, along with a few other regulars who've become something like a support group over the past few months. So what now? Red asks, raising his beer in a toast. You're a free man, successful business owner, and you've still got your dignity. What's next? I'm thinking about expanding the business, maybe hiring a couple of employees, taking on bigger commercial projects. Sounds good. What about the personal stuff? You going to start dating again? The question catches me off guard. I haven't thought much about dating. I've been too focused on rebuilding my life, my business, my relationship with Maggie. Maybe eventually. Right now, I'm enjoying being responsible for just myself. Fair enough. But don't wait too long, Jack. Life's short, and you've got a lot of good years left. My phone buzzes with a text from Maggie. Dad, can you pick me up early from Mom's? I want to help with the Morrison warehouse project tomorrow. I smile, typing back, be there in 20 minutes. Maggie's been spending more time with me lately, showing interest in the electrical business and asking about college programs in engineering. She's resilient, adapting to the new family dynamic better than either of her parents. I find her waiting on the front porch of Lila's new apartment, a modest place downtown that's more suited to a single woman starting over. Maggie hops in the truck with her overnight bag and a smile. How was your weekend with Mom? I ask. Good. We talked a lot. About the divorce, about what happened, about the future. How are you feeling about everything? Honestly, I'm okay with it. You and Mom are happier apart than you were together, and I'd rather have two parents who are honest about their problems than two parents who pretend everything's fine. Smart kid. Smarter than her parents, apparently. What about Eric? I ask. Are you okay with how that ended? Maggie shrugs. I liked Uncle Eric, but what he did was wrong. You don't betray people who trust you, especially family. No, you don't. Besides, she continues, I think Mom learned something important. She's different now. More real, I guess. Less worried about impressing people. We drive home in comfortable silence, and I think about how this whole experience has changed all of us. I'm more independent, more focused on what really matters. Lila seems more grounded, less concerned with appearances. And Maggie has learned lessons about loyalty and consequences that will serve her well in life. Maybe that's the real victory here, not the financial settlement or the business success, but the fact that we all came through this as better people. The next morning, I'm back at the Morrison warehouse putting the finishing touches on the electrical work. It's been a good project, challenging, profitable, and a showcase for what I can do on my own. Jim Morrison walks through the facility with me, inspecting the work and signing off on the final punch list. Outstanding job, Jack. Everything looks perfect. Thank you. It was a pleasure working with you. I've got another project coming up, a new office building downtown. Interested? Absolutely. We shake hands, and I realize this is what success feels like. Not the money or the recognition, but the satisfaction of doing good work for people who appreciate it. As I'm packing up my tools, my phone rings. Unknown number. Jack Parish? Speaking. This is Carol Henderson, Mrs. Henderson's daughter. I'm calling about my mother's house. Mrs. Henderson, the widow who told me about second chances and new beginnings. Is everything all right? Mom passed away last week. Heart attack, very peaceful. I'm sorry to hear that. She was a good woman. She was, and she thought very highly of you. In fact, she left you something in her will. That surprises me. What kind of something? Her house. The Victorian you've been maintaining for years. She said you understood old things and how to take care of them. I'm speechless. Mrs. Henderson's house is a beautiful century-old Victorian, fully restored and worth easily $200,000. I don't understand. Why would she leave it to me? She said you reminded her of her second husband, someone who knew the value of things that had been broken and fixed. Someone who understood that the best stories have second chapters. After the call, I sit in my truck for a long time, thinking about Mrs. Henderson's gift and her words about second chances. Maybe she's right. Maybe the best stories do have second chapters. That evening, I'm showing Maggie through Mrs. Henderson's house, explaining the electrical work I've done over the years and the restoration projects that could be undertaken. It's beautiful, Dad, she says, running her hand along the original hardwood banister. Are you going to live here? I'm thinking about it. It would be closer to downtown, closer to work. And it's got that apartment over the garage. Perfect for a college student who wants to be independent but still close to home. She grins. Are you bribing me to stay in town for college? Maybe. Is it working? Maybe. We spend an hour exploring the house, talking about renovation plans and the future. It feels like a new beginning, a chance to build something beautiful from something that's been neglected. As we're leaving, Maggie stops on the front porch. Dad, can I ask you something? Sure. Do you regret any of it? The divorce, the fight with Eric, all the drama? I consider the question carefully. I regret that it happened. I regret that people got hurt, that trust was broken. But I don't regret standing up for myself. I don't regret demanding consequences for people's actions. Even if it meant losing Mom? Maggie, I didn't lose your mother. She chose to leave. There's a difference. She nods, processing this. I think I understand. What do you understand? That sometimes loving someone means letting them face the results of their choices, even when it hurts. Smart kid, definitely smarter than her parents. 6 months later, I'm living in Mrs. Henderson's house, running a successful electrical contracting business, and dating a nice woman named Sarah who teaches at the high school. Life isn't perfect, but it's honest. It's mine. Lila and I have found our way to a functional co-parenting relationship. We're not friends exactly, but we're not enemies either. She started her own law practice, specializing in family law, perhaps drawing on her own experience with divorce and second chances. Eric never came back to town. I heard through the grapevine that he's working for a large electrical contractor in Chicago, starting over as a journeyman instead of a partner. Maybe that's what he needed, a chance to prove himself without riding on someone else's reputation. As for me, I'm sitting on the front porch of my new house, watching the sunset paint the river orange and gold. Maggie's inside, studying for her SATs and researching engineering programs. Sarah's coming over for dinner, bringing homemade pasta and stories from her day at school. It's not the life I planned 20 years ago, when I married Lila and started the business with Eric. But it's a good life, built on honesty and hard work, and the understanding that actions have consequences, both good and bad. My phone buzzes with a text from Tom Polk. Saw the article in the paper about your Morrison project. Congratulations on the recognition. I hadn't seen the article, but it doesn't matter. The real recognition comes from satisfied clients, from Maggie's pride in my work, from the knowledge that I rebuilt my life on my own terms. The sun disappears behind the trees, and the streetlights begin to flicker on, circuits I installed and maintain, keeping this little river town illuminated against the darkness. It's good work, honest work, and it's mine. Some people might say I lost everything in the divorce. My wife, my best friend, my original plans for the future. But sitting here on this porch, in this house that represents new beginnings and second chances, I know the truth. I didn't lose anything that mattered. I found out what was worth keeping, and I kept it. The rest was just wiring that needed to be replaced.